From USMB, this is the Christian Leader Podcast.
God wants us to be excellent. I think he does. And I think he gives us all unique abilities and skills to try to work together to be successful. So, having successful people in our community, in our churches, in our business community, it helps us with the homeless issues. It helps us with growing churches. It helps us serving people. It helps us fund other entrepreneurs to come up with new things.
Hello, friends. Welcome to this new episode of the Christian Leader Podcast. My name is Matt Ersman, and as always, so glad to have you with me. So today, that voice that you just heard was the voice of Wendell Funk. Wendell is really a very influential leader in Wichita, where I live, not only in our church at Ridge Point, but also in the larger Wichita business arena. Wendell had a very successful 20-year career with our local newspaper years ago, before he branched off as an entrepreneur, started his own business, and now he's the president and CEO of a local organization that helps other businesses, helps small business owners kind of launch their business, provide a lot of great sources for entrepreneurs. So Wendell has had a very successful business career, but as we'll talk about today, his faith is also very important to him. Again, not only has he had some leadership roles at Ridge Point, his local church, but Wendell's also really intentional about how he uses his relationships in the business world. You can just hear in his voice today that he wants to be a light in our community and point people to the hope and the love of Jesus. And I think whether you're in the church world or the business world, I think there's something that all of us can learn from today. Because honestly, I think sometimes the church can learn from the business world, and as we'll hear today, the business world can certainly learn from the church. And so for those of you who kind of have a foot in both worlds, I think there's actually great opportunity for you to make a real impact. And Wendell has modeled that for us really well over the last decades of his career. So let's hear from this week's sponsor, and then we'll get to my conversation with my friend, business leader, entrepreneur, and faith leader, Wendell Funk.
Today's podcast is sponsored by Mennonite Central Committee. MCC follows the biblical call to love our neighbors. MCC collaborates with local churches and partners to bring needed supplies to people in crisis, offer trauma healing and peace training, provide educational supplies, clean water, food, and much more. Join MCC and the work of our partners in more than 40 countries by donating, serving, or praying. Learn more about MCC and how you can get involved at mcc.org.
All right, friends. Well, today, this is another episode I've been looking forward to. These are fun ones for me when my worlds kind of collide a little bit. I get to introduce our podcast audience to a real life friend of mine. Today, we're talking to Wendell Funk. Wendell is a very influential leader in the city of Wichita, in the business and the city world. Wendell's been a friend of mine for many years and honestly kind of a mentor figure. We've spent a lot of time together. So for those of you who don't know Wendell, I'm excited to introduce you. So Wendell, thanks for being here today.
Hey, it's my privilege. Looking forward to it.
It's great to have you. So again, if people haven't met you yet, aren't familiar with you, you've got a great background of just both faith and business leadership. We could spend the whole hour talking about your career, but can you just walk us through maybe early career, what you're doing now, and some of the kind of highlights in between before we go too far?
Sure. Yeah. Just real briefly. So, I started out in my corporate adventure, my corporate career. I had a 20-year corporate career in the what used to be the newspaper business, the newspaper industry. And of course, that's changed a lot and loved doing that. I was based out of the Wichita Eagle, but also flew around the country corporately to help out other properties. But and then I had an entrepreneurial adventure. I retired after 20 years and formed a company called Inspired Concepts, and we had tried to get out of the media world, but we had media products and local magazines and other things. We did it both here in Oklahoma City. And then I had the privilege about 5.5 years ago, an opportunity came to put my corporate and my entrepreneurial experience together to try to help small businesses and entrepreneurs here in Wichita. And so now I'm doing that, and I'm part of president and CEO of the Wichita Independent Business Association, and we just get to help small businesses and entrepreneurs grow and scale. And we're helping about 750 small businesses right now, and have about 3,000 people in our family. And so, yeah, that's kind of my corporate career, and I love what I'm doing right now. Kind of a higher purpose, I guess, to try to help entrepreneurs and small businesses.
Yeah. Well, Wendell, you're very humble and you kind of breezed through your career, but you've had a lot of success. You've done a lot of really great things, both, I'm sure I hope it's been personally meaningful for you, but you've made a real impact in our local city here in Wichita. 20 years with our kind of flagship newspaper. The magazine that you started was really successful. Now you're helping a lot of new business leaders get started. So I guess I want to take a minute just to acknowledge.
Yeah.
I'm thankful that you've used your skills to hopefully I hope it's been a meaningful career. But you've also helped to build the city in a helpful way. So I think it's just cool to hear how God's used you in the workplace. So
it's been really rewarding, and there's so many great people in our city and our community, and really being able to work together to make this a better place and to help individuals get through and grow and scale, and helping our city as we continue to get better. And growth really is in the small business community. But I've had a chance to interact with all the city leaders and nonprofits, and just so it has been fun to be a part of that, and extremely rewarding, and love kind of the third chapter of my career that I'm in now. I'm really enjoying that.
Yeah, cool. Well, again, just because I know you, Wendell, I know your faith is really important to you also. And again, we don't need to go too deep, but can you just give us a quick faith background? I think you grew up in a Christian home. You went to Christian school. Walk us through just the kind of the highlights of your faith story.
You bet. Yeah, I was blessed to grow up in a Christian family, and I was in a group in seventh grade. It was called Boys Brigade. I don't know if you ever heard of that. It was just a great Christian group at a church that we were in Lincoln, Nebraska, actually at that time. And so this is just a great group where I was able to Jesus into my heart, and it was just a really good experience there. And we lived in Lincoln for a few years, and then moved back to Hillsboro. But I was blessed to be in a Mennonite community in Hillsboro, and that was really just a great experience. Went to a private Christian school. I don't know if I should say the name of the school, Bethel College.
You were a rebel. You didn't go to Tabor, just like me.
I didn't go to Tabor, but I am very supportive of Tabor College, and my kids both went to school there, and so was on the strategic planning committee there too. So I definitely love Tabor as well, and so that was a great opportunity, and then was fortunate to get married to a Christian girl, and she kept me in my faith. And sometimes I wonder if I hadn't have run into Shelley, I might have taken some other detours. But we've been married now for 40 years, and just a great family, and love our church, and have been through all of our church transitions since early 1985. And so just now love trying to live out my faith in a different way, and just continue to do that in the business world.
Yeah. Awesome. So kind of the main point of the conversation today is like honoring God in the workplace. There's kind of this kind of buzz term of work as worship. I don't even know for sure if I understand what that means. We could talk about that a little bit, but can you just talk maybe especially earlier in your career, since your faith was important, but you had, big business aspirations and a lot of kind of early success, maybe early in your career, especially how did you kind of balance faith and work, and were there some kind of tensions and rubs early on, or as you were getting started, what were some of your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you bet. Well, as I was getting started, I was in the corporate world trying to grow my career, and, I sort of had three parts, as I mentioned, to my career. And I think probably at the beginning, I was probably not as good at staying focused on the balance of my Christian and work part. Really was trying to grow my career, and I was in the corporate space. And so, I obviously, I had some mentors and good friends that helped keep me on track as I was a young professional. But, and really in my corporate career, realized that I'm not working for the corporation. I was working for the Lord. And, so I tried to keep that focus, but I know that I may have got off track quite a bit in my corporate career as I had, moved up the ladder. But as I kind of got to my entrepreneurial adventure after I left the corporate career, and it really helped me rely on God a lot more. I think it was one of those where you wondered, you didn't have the big corporate backing, and so you were now trying to grow a business, wondered if you could do it, and so it really helped me rely more on God, and that was a real big turning point for me. And being an entrepreneur also helped me really I was able to help a lot of other people too, in sometimes small ways, whether it was someone who literally was homeless on the street, and we bought him a camera, and he took photos and paid him $40 every time he covered an event. And
Oh, wow.
he's now a legend in Wichita, and he takes photos all over the place. But some of those kind of stories where, as an entrepreneur, you could really try to help other people. And with what I was doing entrepreneurial, that at that time, I was able to really care about our city and focus on nonprofits. And so that was really helpful in trying to grow my faith. There was a lot of difficult things in an entrepreneurial adventure, some good and some bad, and to overcome those and try to work at growing your faith. And, really this third chapter has been, I feel like, where I really felt like as I sold my businesses at the end of 2020 and was looking for a third chapter where I could put my corporate and entrepreneurial career together, really felt like this was a real God thing. I'd never heard of the Wichita Independent Business Association before.
Mm-hmm.
And there was just a small byline in the business journal here that said they were looking for a leader. And I thought, well, maybe this is maybe this is it. Maybe this is what God put out there for me. So I looked at their website and I picked a board member, and he happened to be in charge of the search committee, and things just kind of kept going. And so it was a real opportunity to relaunch this. And, I really feel like this is sort of a real higher purpose for me. It's a third chapter where I can really completely be focused on serving God in a way that we help others and help entrepreneurs. I knew how lonely it was as an entrepreneur, and how difficult the journey is. And being able to do that here again in the city that I love here locally has been a real blessing. So I think, probably started out a little bit weaker in my corporate career days, but then like I said, as I got to be an entrepreneur and now where I'm at, it just continues to be more obvious that God can work through us and honor us in the workplace and in our city.
Yeah, that's great. And I think it's kind of funny. I think a lot of times people who work in the church sometimes have kind of a little bit of envy of people who don't work in the church, because for those of us who work in a church building every day, all day, like honestly, it's very easy for people like me to interact with only Christians. Like most days I only see people who are very strong in their faith and they're committed and they're at church. You get to see people every day who, a lot of them don't have a faith background. And in a lot of ways you can make, well, in virtually every way, you can make more of an impact than I can, just because of the nature of your work, the nature of your interactions. So walk me through that. Like if you're having a meeting, or if you're trying to hire someone, or how are you able to kind of just sprinkle your faith in just the daily interactions with people?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think, it starts, I park in the parking garage here, and many mornings it starts with running into someone on the street, a homeless person, and then you just continue to pass by people. But I think you run into every type of leader, whether they're a nonprofit or I really, most of my time is spent meeting with people. And so, really getting a chance to sit down and get to know them, to care about them, to build a relationship with them. And, at the end of the day, that's really what it's all about. It's just about the people. And so you get to meet some, are Christians, and it's obvious that they are. And many others are completely non-Christian. And most people probably that we run into, I think that, they're doing a lot of good things, but people all have a lot of needs. They have a lot of things that they're working on. And so I think just building those relationships with people is super important, and trying to care about them. And, I've sort of adopted in this current role of loving on people and loving on business. And, that's really been, I think that's the secret sauce out there, because a lot of people don't have someone that really truly takes an interest or cares for them.
Yeah.
And so if you do, you get to know them, you get to try to figure out how you can be helpful, what kind of resources you might provide. And for some people, it's just giving them someone to talk to, and someone who's positive, and someone who hopefully have been an example, so that they can see that, oh, this person is a little different than some others. And you get to talk further about relationships, and potentially even, whether they go to church and what they're up to what else they do in their other life besides work and their family. And I think the more you can build those relationships with people, then the more opportunities you have to go deeper.
Well, and again, you'll know this better than I do, but I know there's actual like laws about what you can and can't say as a business owner. Like you can't for you, you can't only hire Christians, and you wouldn't want to for a variety of reasons. That wouldn't be a smart business decision for you
Yeah.
to do that. But you also mentioned like when you interact with people, sometimes you can just pick up like, okay, this man or woman clearly is following Jesus. And I imagine people have that interaction with you. Like you are very positive, you're very joyful. So I imagine there might be times when people say, man, like Wendell, how there is something different, especially in the business world, you kind of stand out. What's different about you? So have you had some conversations like that? And how do you have them without being too pushy? I'm sure you've had a lot of thoughts and experience with that.
Yeah, no, I think you have to earn their trust. You have to sort of build that relationship, and you have to be skillful about it, I guess, and you have to be open first.
Yeah.
I think if they can see that you truly do care about them, that you are trying to build a relationship, you take an interest in what they're up to, and so I think the deeper you can go with that conversation, the more you can build that. And I think people have to see you a little bit. Sometimes it takes several conversations or interactions, and people get to, I get to be out in public a lot, so you get observed a lot, over time, and then maybe other people say, hey, you should have a conversation, or you should talk with him. So yeah, I think it's one of those things where you can get people. It's amazing what people will offer up, what they do if they feel like they can trust you and that you actually truly care about them. Just you just continue to ask open-ended questions and get more and more information and whether they, about their family, about what they like to do in their spare time, how you can help them in their business or their career. And then it starts to, as you build that relationship, it starts to open up more and more doors, and then you really get to know, because and we're in, we get involved in some Christian organizations like Lead Wichita and other things too, which so you get a chance to sort of indirectly going to prayer breakfasts and different things, being seen at those kinds of things, inviting people to your table and stuff like that. So, yeah.
And I don't want to put you on the spot, and you don't need to share anything you don't want to share, but as you have gotten involved, like as a business leader, when you get involved with faith adjacent things, has that been hard and risky for you? Because on one hand, again, speaking just strictly business, that might be risky. You might not want to be known as a Christian, just strictly business speaking. So
yeah,
has that come back to bite you, or was that a risk that you felt like you just needed to take? Or walk us through that a little bit.
I mean, it wasn't like I held up a sign and said, I'm a Christian.
Right.
A lot of ways it was getting involved with other organizations that are like Lead Wichita, or, going to things like Byron McSwain. He owns Greater Grounds Coffee, and he's a member, and he's a great Christian guy. And so we've held a social out there, and he was able to share his faith with the 100 people that we brought to the little social or breakfast that we had out there. And so he became a member. I was a friend, but then he was able to share publicly why he named it Greater Grounds Coffee and was all about God. Intentionally, we have breakfasts every month, and we invite impactful speakers to come and share. And I asked them all to share something, their personal story as well as their entrepreneurial adventure. And so we've had everything from fostering to pro-life to a jail ministry to how someone, premier leader in our community, was raised in an abusive home, made it through the system, and now is president of a large company here in town. But people really sharing their faith is as a part of their personal story. And so I didn't do that directly, but I did meet with them ahead of time and encourage them to share their impactful story as well as talk about their business adventure. And so, and there were there in all those situations, I would say at least half the audience probably weren't Christians. Now, there were a lot of Christians in there. I feel like our organization is more Christian than not, but you have big audiences, and you are able to put someone like Byron, who worked in a corporate career and has a great coffee shop, Greater Grounds, here locally, and told his faith story, to these impactful stories, to being at the Wichita Prayer Breakfast, where a lot of people may go to that just because they want to see people, but just to be seen there, to be, like I said, So, and there's others in our group. Norm Duncan is a pastor of a church, and he works at a bank here in town. And so there's just you can use a group of people to be a witness to others, but also provide a platform where where people can share. And so I think it has rippled out and made a big effect, because we have some people that definitely are, you look at their website and they're not Christian.
Yeah, right.
But hopefully, as you have conversations, I've really tried hard as an organization to where everybody can be a part of the Weba family.
Yeah.
And so it's everything from, super high level, successful people to people who are, barely getting started and may have some other challenges in their life and significant issues. And so, yes, we're a business organization, but we're also a people organization. And so, by using these great opportunities that we've put together, from having the impactful breakfast to coffee and conversations to and bringing other Christians around as we're all scattered throughout, it opens up conversations. But it hasn't really come back to bite me. And I thought, back a few years ago with all the diversity conversations and all the things. And I just have really worked hard to make sure that everyone has a place in Weba, and we've made it so that everybody can be part of it, and not only to grow their business, but also to help them connect and help them grow individually. And again, back to loving on people and loving on business. And I think it's pretty obvious it doesn't take a lot to stand out in that regard, but if you can get people to at least know that you do truly care, and you're trying to do the best things, and you're trying to help businesses grow, and then they have to see it over time.
Yes, right.
I can't just see a one-shot thing. Well, he was nice there, but man, I saw him doing this other thing, and that doesn't make any sense.
Yes,
and so being consistent, when you're in a public setting a lot, or when you're a lot of social media and other things, people might know you, and so.
Right.
So I think this Weba has provided just so many great opportunities to impact people, not only personally, but in their business and in their careers. Yeah. And so that's been sort of my higher purpose. But so far it hasn't come back to bite me. I mean, I can't really think of. I'm trying to do it in a kind way, and then it opens up a conversation where they, then we might be able to start to talk about, well, where do you go to church, or what do you do on the weekends?
Yeah.
That's a good way to ask people too, because they say, well, I play golf and then we go to church. Oh, okay. That's awesome. So, people, I've met so many different people. Like I said, we have about 3,000 people in our organization, and I get to go to commissioner meetings, council meetings. We have 120 nonprofits in our organization. So you just get to see a lot of all kinds of different needs and people at all different levels of success. And so, it's fun to watch people grow both personally, professionally, and in their faith.
Yeah. Yeah, because day by day, you really are, like, you're serving people. Like, you're helping them, you're developing them, you're giving them skill sets and tools that they need to succeed. And so I kind of joked about this earlier, but like there's this term of work as worship, which obviously there's kind of this movement of like worship is not just singing, right? We can worship whatever we're doing, wherever we are. And so I think if you take that too far, it starts to kind of get watered. If everything's worship, is anything worship? I don't know. I'm still working that out. But part of what you do, I think, is you do worship with the skills that God gave you, with the personality He's given you, the skills, the experience. So do you kind of view it that way as part of this? You're kind of giving back to God by serving other people, or have you kind of thought about the work as worship lifestyle and what does that mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, I maybe not so much just work as worship, but I definitely love what I do. I definitely see this as an opportunity, as a platform, as just a higher purpose. I mean, I'm always motivated by continuous improvement and, a higher purpose. And so that's one of the things I love about this job is that I don't view it as work. I mean, we still work hard, and it's kind of my, I think early on people ask me, is this your full-time job? And I'm like, well, we have a business academy, we have an incubator, we have all kinds of things, but because I think it doesn't look like work to some people, and because it really is, my work is talking to people, and and everybody has something that's unique or interesting, or some people are a little harder to love a little bit, but I think it is. I love getting out of bed and getting to work every day, and so I would hate to have me personally. I need that higher kind of purpose, and if I viewed it as I grew up working on a farm. Now that was work.
Yes.
Now you can see God and nature and all the things, but I did not want to milk cows when I grew up. I can tell you that, because that was work, or bucking bales or things. So I love this, and just the opportunity to try to blend the two together. And I'm not perfect at this in any way. I try to talk to people. I try to do it all the time, every day. I try to care about them. And then because I've been here and I have so many connections to resources, I can usually connect somebody with a resource, whether it's funding or whether it's connections or whether it's something they need for their business, or a resource. So that's the fun part, is being able to do that, and then see them continue to grow and be successful. And then now they're hiring people, and now they get to try to honor their people in the workplace. And so it's just a big multiplier, because that's where the growth in our city is coming from. It's small business and entrepreneurs. So glad I don't just have to work.
Yes.
Work is worship. Yeah. So I love to worship too, but
yes,
I mainly sing on the way to work. But
nice. Well, you just mentioned blending. I think that's another kind of big thing I want to talk about, because I know, so again, you attend Ridgepoint, the same church that I'm at. And so over the several years of our church, you've had a lot of leadership roles at Ridgepoint. And some people I've heard people say, like, well, the church shouldn't be a business. And they're kind of hesitant to have too many business leaders serve as church leaders. And should churches market themselves? Like, I know there's kind of a variety of opinions about that, but you have gifts that over the years, you've chosen to use to not only build your business, but also to build the church. So can you talk a little bit about that, of bringing business into the church, and whether people are fans of that or not? Some of it's just good leadership. And I think you brought some good leadership. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, no, I think that, obviously being able to work alongside the Christian leaders in the church was a big benefit, but I think bringing skills that help businesses be successful and bringing it to the church is super important. I mean, we have 120 nonprofits in our organization, and not that they're exactly churches, but they all now more than ever have to run it like, it sounds wrong, but run it like a business, because they're not getting as much funding coming in, things like that. So they need the fundamentals of business. If you can find business leaders that will do that, but also balance it with the Christian perspective, because obviously, again, in the church, it's all about the people. And so I think it's to have the, being able to work side by side with the leaders in the church, as well as bringing some business leaders in. I think it's just a great way to do it. And, I admire leaders that work in the church, you and others there. I mean, that's not an easy job. I mean, I much rather work out in the business world. Because you have a lot of people in the church, and everybody has thoughts and ideas. And I just think being a skillful leader in a church and being able to continue to move things forward and help people grow in their faith and bringing more people to the Lord. I mean, I just think it's a difficult thing, but I think if you bring along in terms of sort of helping the church grow and be able to provide more ministry and more resources, I think having business leaders coming in to help, it frees up more resources. We have a foundation at WEBA, and so, really use that to be able to fund more education, more scholarships. And just like in the church, if you are able to get the church to run smoothly and to grow and scale and it just provides more and more resources that then you can reach out further into the community and add other sister churches and all the things that you guys are doing at Ridgepoint. But that's just, I think you've brought in some business people, right? Yeah. To help with that. So I think that's a super smart move. And if you can find leaders that are genuine and have the heart of the church in mind, and I suppose you could, bring in some wrong people who didn't have a balanced perspective. But
Right.
I think the combination of business leaders and church leaders together is a powerful one.
Yeah. Well, one cool thing I wanted to make sure we brought up, because not only did you bring some like business principles to the church, but you've also, I think this is cool, you've brought some church principles to your business. So I know of at least one example of that. Can you share how you brought kind of a church idea into your business world?
Yeah, I think I know what you're referring to. Early on, about 5 years ago, when I first started, Weba it didn't have a lot. It needed to grow, and it was a difficult time during the pandemic and all of that. And so took a page out of the church's playbook, and we launched business life groups. And these just were great. I mean, it was just a way that I knew it had worked really well and in the church, and I was part of a church life group, and I knew how that really could help you grow in your faith and help you have accountability and help you get through life. And so the same kind of principles as we brought these business life groups together, we brought them together they all had different areas of expertise or from different industry. And so they came together, and we had some probably the most successful one, it's still going today. And it was one where they were a board for each other's business. So I think there's 10 of them in this group, and they all have different expertise. And so they come together as a board for each other's business, and they've really helped their businesses grow. They've also helped them get through things personally and professionally. And, great thing about life groups is you get to care about people, and they're not, brings them together. And, it can be a lonely world as an entrepreneur. And so these business life groups, again, modeling what the church has done really well and bringing these together in small groups like that, they've been really effective. And so we have lots of different groups that are still out there going on. But I think, there's no original real ideas. And so I think that was a really good one to steal from the church. And it's worked really well in a business setting. So I was grateful that I had that experience and thought, okay, here's a way we can meet in small groups. We can care about each other, help each other grow, and help each other be successful. So, yeah.
I love that you did that. Yeah, because I think a lot of times there's kind of this weird line, like, no, that's a business idea. No, that's a church idea. But like, a good idea is a good idea, right? So I think when we can work together and take kind of the best of both worlds and learn from each other, take advantage of success, I think that's a win-win.
Absolutely.
Speaking of success, I wanted to ask you about this too, because I know, again, a lot of Christians have maybe a weird view of success. Like they might think that if they're too financially successful, if they have too much success in the workplace, some people they think that's kind of wrong, or it's a sin for some reason if they experience success, or maybe it's a humility thing. They feel like they shouldn't have too much spotlight on themselves if they take their faith seriously. So again, I'm sure that's something that you've wrestled with since you have experienced a lot of success. So how do you view success and humility, and how do you work your faith on that conversation?
Wow, that's a really great topic. Yeah. I think God calls us to be successful. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think not at all costs, not stepping on people, but I think if you try to get better, if you try to provide resources, because hopefully you're not thinking only about your own, and we're all humans. So, I mean, I can't say I haven't, many times focused on something that was just only going to benefit me. But I think if you can, use success and bring a lot of other people along, and hopefully by doing the right thing, you're not really just striving to be successful or have the biggest number in your bank account or that sort of thing. But if you can, really good, successful entrepreneurs, business owners that are Christians as well, I mean, that success benefits so many people. It can benefit their families. It can benefit the community. It can benefit the church. And so I don't think you have to apologize for that. I think there's definitely you don't want to be bragging about it,
right?
Because I think it can come and go, and it comes from God, and it's not you being successful, which sometimes we think in business, it's real easy to continue to have strategies and put new plans together and think, well, this is just me. Maybe I should stop a minute and pray about it. Maybe I should, talk to some other people and seek guidance. So I think that, if we didn't have successful people and entrepreneurs around this, I mean, the church would have struggles in our community. And so I think it's how you handle the success. It's if you're blessed, how you use those blessings to benefit your family, your friends, the community. God wants us to be excellent. I think he does. And I think he gives us all unique abilities and skills to try to work together to be successful. So I don't think nobody, if they looked at it, had been successful on their own. Yes. We've all had many people help us, guidance from above, and then sometimes a little luck too, honestly.
Yeah.
Timing and running into the right person at the right time. And but yeah, I think, having successful people in our community, in our churches, in our business community, it helps, helps us with the homeless issues. It helps us with growing churches. It helps us serving people. It helps us fund other entrepreneurs to come up with new things and new ways. Like, again, back to Greater Grounds, Byron was successful in Cargill and able to start Greater Grounds. And now it's a community place that helps so many people. And so that if he hadn't have been successful, he wouldn't have been able to invest in a business, and then he wouldn't have the platform to now multiply into many, many other people's faith journeys. Yeah.
I guess not always, but usually with success, also generally there's more employees. You might be able to hire more people, again, making their lives better, hopefully impacting their families. And everyone knows that a job is either great or horrible depending on your boss, right? So like if you can be a good boss who cares for people, provides, salary and hopefully some benefits for your employees, like success can also mean more very, very tangible impact in people's lives too, right? I know that's been something that you're really passionate about, is helping people get in a good fit and finding a job where they're able to meet their needs and grow. That's a big part of this too, I think.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you're able to bring more people along, and as you grow, then other people have opportunities to grow. And one successful business helps another one get better, and then they add more people. And and if you have folks that are working with you and you can care about them and build relationships and help show them the way, then they can do that for others as well. Yeah. It's all about, in the business world here, it's all about all of our entrepreneurial organizations coming together and helping people grow their business and grow individually and to hopefully better themselves and their families as well. Yeah.
Awesome. Good. All right. Well, Wendell, again, this always happens. Our time's going by fast. I'm going to try to squeeze in 2 more questions to kind of close us out. So I want to give hopefully some practical and helpful advice for like 2 groups of people. So maybe there's someone listening who has been a business leader or a church leader, but they've been on the leadership side for some amount of time. What's kind of again, whether they're in the workplace or in the church, how can they take advantage of their position, their experience to help bless other people? What kind of advice, if they're on the leadership, kind of the back half of their career, what's something that you want people to keep in mind about being a Christian in the workplace?
I think if they've had success and they're a Christian in the workplace and now they're in this position in their career where they can, kind of like the 3rd chapter that I'm in, right? If they can look for those opportunities beyond themselves, not just how can I retire in a couple of years and make more money to do that, but if they can really look for that, search for that higher purpose. And, again, it's so much about just meeting different people. I mean, taking as much time as they can to just talk to people. I mean, I think that's such a big piece of advice. Just keep talking to people. And you hear different things with different perspectives, and it really, all of a sudden, there's new strategies that come. There's new veins of gold, I guess, and there's new opportunities that come out of that. And it's a great way to use your experience, use the resources you have, and not be selfish about it. Not just so, hey, I can put more money away for my retirement or for playing more golf or whatever it is. But yeah, I think just, push for more, look higher, look, And there's going to be some neat opportunities to really be able to help in that final part of your career.
Yeah. Awesome. I love that. Okay. Well, then on the flip side, we have some younger people listening too.
Yeah.
Maybe they're just starting their career in the workplace and they're facing support for them, but they're not sure how to live it out day by day. And there's probably a lot of us are grinding it out. They're working their way up. They're in that stage, or maybe some had kind of a flash of early success and they're trying to figure out how to deal with that. So maybe now on the flip side, talk to the younger people listening.
Boy, it took, I just sort of discovered this here later in life, but as I look back, as you're younger, there's so many things that can go right or wrong, or so many things you're doing and you're balancing. And so I love golf, right? So I've been playing a lot more golf. And one of the things in golf that you want to do, and this will tie into what your question is that when you're teeing off, if you can keep the ball in the fairway or in play, you have a lot better chance to score on that hole. If you hit the ball out of bounds, then you're going to get penalty strokes. And so I think one of the things that I have used, if I was going to write a book, it would be called Keep the Ball in Play. And I think for young people, because you're at so many different intersections, and it's really for everybody, but especially young, you start out and you can keep the ball in play. So you keep your finances in play. You keep your relationships in play. You keep your work life in play. You don't go bankrupt. You don't think that, there's somebody a little better than my wife. You keep the ball in play, and you're going to have, as you're growing and you do the right things at work for your career and you treat people right, but by keeping the ball in play, as you're a young professional, a young person moving up, it gives you such a better chance to continue to be successful. If you hit one out of bounds, you can recover. Yeah, but it's a lot harder, and so I think as much as you can think about how do I try to stay in bounds, how do I keep the ball in play, and I think that's especially for young people, because you're going through so many life transitions. Maybe you're new jobs, new career path, maybe a girlfriend, a wife, buying houses, having kids, whatever it might be. Making financial decisions. Well, now a lot of young people start growing businesses right off the bat.
Right.
In our day, it wasn't you got married and you got a house, got a job, and then you got married, then you got a house, and then you had kids, and you did it all that, and you weren't an entrepreneur as early on, but now a lot of young people are. So it's especially helpful in business too, that you don't make some really bad business decisions early on that you could financially can't recover from. So keeping the ball in play.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. Maybe I think you should write a book. You don't have enough to do. You should write a book. That should be.
It always sounds good. I think like 95% of people say they're going to write a book, and I think there's stats like 5% that actually do.
Nice.
But I have really interesting titles for chapters kind of sketched out, but that's about as far as I've gotten. So
you kind of mentioned this just briefly there, but like a lot of people in your position, as you get older, as you experience a lot of success, you mentioned kind of briefly there just staying faithful to your wife. You're still involved at your church. I know you're a very dedicated father and grandfather. Again, a lot of people in your position might, just kind of throw all that away just for more dollars and cents. And especially as we're trying to keep with the faith thing in mind, it'd be really easy for you just to kind of blow off church responsibilities, for you to not take your faith seriously. So again, I guess kind of last piece of advice, how have you kept your faith central and kind of kept yourself on straight and narrow, for lack of a better term? Because I'm sure there's been a lot of times when it would have been easy for you to get rid of all that. So how have you kind of stayed on that path?
My wife might debate that I've been on that path exactly all the time, but I think it goes back, so much of all of that goes to sort of commitment. And I remember, this goes back to Pastor Dennis Fast. He was a long time ago.
Okay.
He did our marital counseling 40 years ago. Okay. And I remember him, and I think it applies to everything you said, but he took it, we had a chalkboard, so he took a piece of chalk and he drew a straight line. And then he drew lines above and beyond that, above and below that straight line. And he said, that straight line is your commitment line. He said, always stay focused on your commitment. Yeah. And so, yes, there are those opportunities. You make a bad business decision. You could decide that your family's not as important. You could focus on, I'm just going to only focus on my career, or make some other really bad decision. But with what you commit to, your family, your spouse, your job, your faith, keep your eye on the commitment line, because there's lots of things that look shinier and look more lucrative. And then that's, when you're doing really well, it's sometimes easy to forget about everything else, because, you're doing well, you're paying the bills, you got great stuff. But then there's going to be times when you're below that line. And that's the difficult part too, because you have to keep focused on your commitment. Things are going to get better. I have my it's in control. He's got a plan. But I think keeping an eye on that commitment line, no matter whether you're at a high or you're at a low, I think that's just been, that's just kept us together as a family, as a spouse, and a commitment to other people. And so I think that commitment line is super important for all of us, to what we're committed to, keep an eye on that, and knowing there's going to be highs and lows. And, that's my best piece of advice.
That's good. And
it wasn't my advice. It was Pastor Fass' advice. So.
Well, and again, it's one of those things that's easier said than done, right? That sounds so easy, but day by day, that's a daily choice for marriage and family stuff, but also for your faith.
Yeah.
I think there's no secrets. You just have to grind it out, right? Just do the
right. And there are those days no, for sure. But on those bad days, keep an eye on the line. And on the really good days too, don't forget about, how you got there and still where that line is. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, Wendell, you've been very generous with your time. This has been great. I've loved just hearing more about your story, and I'm sure our audience has been encouraged and inspired too. So thank you for doing this. And I'm just really grateful that you just model this in our community so well. So thank you for your time today, but also just who you are in our community. Really grateful for you, Wendell. So thanks for being here today.
Well, you're welcome. I appreciate it. It's been a great opportunity to chat with you. So thanks a lot.
Yeah. Thanks, Wendell.
Looking to grow as a leader? You don't have to do it alone. USMB cohorts are free online communities where people from all walks of life, pastors, ministry leaders, volunteers, and anyone who wants to grow, gather to learn, ask questions, share ideas, and encourage one another. Whether you're passionate about discipleship, youth ministry, spiritual formation, or simply connecting with others, there's a cohort for you. Each cohort meets online, making it easy to invest in your growth wherever you serve. Best of all, they're free. Registration is open now. Find the cohort that's right for you at usmb.org/cohorts and join a community that's growing together in Christ.
Well, friends, thanks again for listening, and thanks again to Wendell for sharing your wisdom with us today. Just a couple takeaways from me. Life really does just come down to relationships, right? And you can just tell that is what Wendell's work and his life is really all about, is in building relationships, investing in people. That's a common denominator of business and faith leaders. I think that's something that we can all be mindful of. For those of you in the kind of the third chapter of your career, like Wendell was talking about, I love the idea, just a reminder to live beyond yourself, start investing in those who are coming up behind you. And for those of us who are younger, keep the ball in play. Do whatever it takes to protect your finances, but more importantly, your relationships and your integrity as you grow in your career. So Wendell, thanks again for your leadership in our community. Thanks for your time today. And thanks to you, listener. So great to have you with us. And I know I got to see and hang out with quite a few of you just a couple weeks ago at the gathering in Salt Lake City. That was so much fun. So if I got to see you there, thanks for hanging out. And again, thanks for being here today. I hope you have a great week, and we'll see you next time here on the Christian Leader Podcast.